as I've been watching all of these things happening in our world right now, I've been going through a lot of incredible changes lately too. Last December was when I first found out that I might possibly have a tremendously life-changing illness. Some of you, if you've seen my videos before, know that I used to have hair down to my waist, and I don't anymore because of cancer and lymphoma. And I've been thinking about how these huge things that impact our lives change the way that we interact with other people around us. I'm kind of riffing here. I haven't sat down and plotted this out like a really great under 5 minutes kind of video, but I have been thinking about the changes that have happened in me as I realized that I have cancer and that I have that battle to fight. I remember the first day that I came back from the doctor's office and I read that they were thinking that my MRIs showed bone cancer. And I had sat in the doctor's office crying alone and looking at pictures from MRIs showing this huge mass in my leg and realizing that there was a reason I had been in incredible pain nonstop for the last 14 months. And all of a sudden, all of the reasons that most of the time I try to filter things or say things just gently that may be needing to be said more strongly, all of those reasons fell away. And I began thinking, if I had only this much time left with my children, if I had only a specific amount of time left to tell everyone what I have to say and the message that God has given me because of cancer, if that changed the length of time that I have ahead of me, how would I say it differently? How would I do it differently? How would I maximize the time that I was given? And, you know, we if you're a Christian, you can often think about, oh, well, you know, live each day like Jesus is coming tomorrow. I've heard that all my life. But I tell you what, I've never thought about it in the same way as I did before I realized I had cancer. And I might actually have a significant limitation to all the days of my life. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not currently dying of cancer. My treatments are going really well. But it was earth-shattering to sit and consider how that might change. And I realized in December and January, I had a lot more punchy things to say, and I had a lot less holding back because I realized if I had a limited amount of time to say what God has given me to say, then I would want to go ahead and get it all out there right now instead of holding back out of fears of what people could think or fears of other people taking it the wrong way or fears of other people's condemnation or envy or jealousy or misunderstanding. And I realized none of that was worth it. And what I needed to do instead was go ahead and be bold enough to say what God had called me to say anyway, to heal in any way that God was calling me to heal anyway, and to not be worried about externals and peripherals and people's opinions and how things look on the outside, as long as I'm actually doing what God is calling me to do on the inside. Now today, I watched, I don't remember if it was from today or yesterday, but I watched the president of our country announce that the World Health Organization has declared a pandemic with coronavirus. There are coronavirus cases in my city where I'm living. There are people that I know that are traveling. There are people I know whose trips have been completely canceled. As a cancer patient, I have a compromised immune system, which means I have to be super careful. Even though I've typically been healthy as a horse most of my life, I have to take extra precautions because of something that really, I'm sure there's a lot of media hype overblowing it, but I also think it's very serious for the people who have coronavirus. So I see both sides of that situation. We should be cautious. but we should also not let it stop us from living and doing the things that God has called us to do. The thing is that when we get a diagnosis like cancer, or when there is a global pandemic like coronavirus, we tend to live in fear, and we tend to go on lockdown. We tend to go on shutdown. We curl up into ourselves, and we try to get away from all the possible things that might hurt us. We do that a lot with abuse too. When we're living in an environment of abuse, we tend to curl up into ourselves and retreat from the world to hide away. And when we do that, the Bible says that when we do that, it's like it dries out our bones. And one of the things that I was reading today, I want to share with you as an encouragement. It's Ezekiel chapter 37. And it's talking about the valley of dry bones. Now, whether or not you're a cancer patient, I don't know. That's just my story right now. Whether or not you're living in fear of coronavirus, I don't know. I'm not afraid of it, but I definitely think there's reason to be super cautious. But whatever there is in your life right now that you are afraid of, that is sucking the life out of your bones, that is leaving you with dry bones, here's what I want to remind you of right now. Ezekiel 37. The Lord took hold of me, and I was carried away by the Spirit of the Lord to a valley filled with bones. He led me all around among the bones that covered the valley floor. They were scattered everywhere across the ground, and they were completely dried out. No marrow left, no life, nothing. Then he asked me, "Son of man, can these bones become living people again?" Maybe you felt that way. Maybe you felt like your bones are completely dried out, and that's just nothing that can make you a living person again. Abuse will do that to us. Toxic friendships will do that to us. A toxic workplace can suck the life from your bones. An abusive marriage can do the same. Then he said to me, "Speak a prophetic message to these bones and say, 'Dry bones, listen to the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Look, I am going to put breath into you and make you live again. I will put flesh and muscles on you and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life, and you will know that I am the Lord." And so I spoke this message just as he told me. Suddenly I spoke. There was a rattling noise across all the valley. The bones of each body came together and attached themselves as complete skeletons. Then, as I watched, muscles and flesh formed over the bones. Then skin formed to cover their bodies, but they still had no breath in them. Then he said to me, "Speak a prophetic message to the winds, Son of man. Speak a prophetic message and say, 'This is what the sovereign Lord says. Oh, come, O breath from the four winds. Breathe into these dead bodies so they may live again.'" If you feel like your journey in life has sucked out your dry bones, or that God has put the bones back together and you are still waiting for breath, this is what he can do. So I spoke the message as he commanded me, and breath came into their bodies. They all came to life and stood up on their feet, a great army. I believe that those who have been through abuse and those who have survived and become warriors on the other side, that God is raising up a great army to push back against abusive systems and patterns and behaviors and lack of education. I believe that God is raising up a huge, vast army, breathing life into those dry bones, building back muscle and sinew and flesh and skin over our dry bones so that we can share the word of the Lord, of how he heals even after we have felt like our bones have been sucked out at the marrow and completely dried. Then he said to me, "Son of man," this is verse 11 of Ezekiel 37. Then he said to me, "Son of man, these bones represent the people of Israel. They are saying, 'We have become old dry bones. All hope is gone. Our nation is finished.' Therefore prophesy to them and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. O my people, I will open your graves of exile and cause you to rise again. Then I will bring you back to the land of Israel. When this happens, O my people, you will know that I am the Lord. I will put my spirit in you, and you will live again and return home to your own land. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken, and I have done what I said. Yes, the Lord has spoken. If your bones are dry, if you're battling health issues, if you're battling fear because of global pandemics, if you're battling terror because of where you live at home and the environment and the atmosphere of your household or your workplace, this is God's promise to you. He can take your dry bones and He can make you live again so that you are no longer living in fear. And that's what I want to share with you today. Drop me a comment, tell me what you think. If you liked this, share it. Please pass it on to someone else who needs encouragement. Love you lots, and I'm praying for you always.